Through and through. Oh, the Toon Review. Laughs and passion, football too. We are the Toon Review. By the fans, for the fans, through and through. Laughs and passion, football too. We are the Toon Review. 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 Go!
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review for this morning's breakfast show with myself, Paul. Thank you so much for tuning in. Quite a bit to get through this morning, actually. We've got Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. I mentioned this on the show last night a little bit briefly about him calling Newcastle United an idiot club. We'll get into that. Of course, it's Champions League match day as we take on USG in Belgium. A big game, and we need to get going this season. And for me, it's the perfect game to try and get that sorted and get going. However, USG are playing really well this season. We've also got news that Newcastle United, obviously the fans are turning Brussels black and white, as we expected, as we always do when we go away from home in Europe. And it's certainly no difference this time around. But we have been warned of a player to look out for. And is a new sporting director about to be announced at Newcastle United? Ross Wilson is the man that is being banded around, the Nottingham Forest sporting director at the moment. Is he going to take over from Paul Mitchell? Or are Newcastle having second thoughts? There is a little bit of conflicting stories out there at the moment regarding the sporting director. If you do enjoy the show, guys, so please do give it a big thumbs up. And of course, if you are new around here, please subscribe. It really does help the channel. And of course, you can become a member of the Toon Review by hitting that join button just underneath myself. And of course, super chats are available. That's the $sign at the bottom of the live comments. And if you do super chat, you are guaranteed your comments to be read out live on this morning's show. Football Content Awards voting is still open, guys. That is pinned at the top of the show's description with all the instructions and, of course, the link to go and vote for us. It's coming up on the 20th of November. We need your votes more than anything. So please keep voting for us for the Football Content Awards. Right. I want to touch on Karl-Heinz Rummenigge before we go any further in the show, because this guy made some derogatory comments about Newcastle United a couple of weeks ago, actually, when Woltemade scored his first goal against Wolves. He piped up and said that Newcastle United had way overpaid for Woltemade and slammed Newcastle United for basically overpricing a player that didn't deserve to be overpriced, etc., etc. He went away, disappeared into the sunset, and wasn't to be heard of again until Woltemade scored again against Arsenal at the weekend, and he pipes up again. This time, brandishing Newcastle United idiots, an idiot football club for signing Woltemade, claiming that he was way overpriced and we shouldn't be paying anywhere near that amount of money for him. Now, I did have a little bit of a rant on last night's show because it really did piss me off with what he said. I don't think he's in any position to have a little dig at our German striker. Now, this is all because, of course, we know that Bayern Munich tried to get him in the summer. They made 2 or 3 approaches for him, but couldn't agree a fee. Now, that's up to Bayern Munich. If they don't want to go any higher for him, that is perfectly fine. Leave it at that. You missed out on the player. However, he then turns around and brandishes a club idiots for paying more money for him. Why? What has it got to do with little Karl-Heinz? Nothing at all. This just demonstrates that people want to have digs. And listen, this is all a Newcastle United thing for me, because if he'd signed for Arsenal or if he'd signed for Liverpool or whoever, you guaranteed that Rummenigge wouldn't have said anything at all. His little mouth would have been firmly shut and he wouldn't have had a dig. But because it's Newcastle United, he decides that he's got this privilege to have a dig at us. And it's absolutely shocking. And this is a club, remember, who decided to sign Nicholas Jackson. I mean, of all the players in the world, Bayern Munich could go and get, they go and get Nicholas Jackson. Why? I mean, why? It just makes no sense. And listen, I'm thoroughly loving Woltemade at the moment, and I think this guy is going to be a very, very, very good and positive signing. Now, where he fits in, does he fit in as a 9? Do we play with Wissa alongside him? And it's fantastic. And look, Jan Biev, well, yeah, it's not doing my blood pressure any harm. I'm not ranting on. I'm just talking about the situation. I'm just very aware of all these comments coming in, against Newcastle. And Woltemade, for me, is an absolutely quality striker, very different to what we've had in the past. And, are anybody shouting at Liverpool at the minute, by the way? 6 games in, are anybody shouting at Liverpool saying, oh, you wasted the money on Isak because he hasn't scored in the Premier League yet? And he looked dreadful when he came on last night for Liverpool in Galatasaray. Is anybody having a go at them saying they've overpaid? No. So they're the proof in the pudding. Proof in the pudding that it's just jealousy, it's saltiness, etc., which we've come accustomed to in this day and age of supporting Newcastle United. There is a lot of saltiness, really is, and it's hilarious. It really is. Why are people telling me to calm down? I'm not even ranting. Dear God, man, it's a story in the press, and that's what I'm doing this morning. If you don't want to listen, bugger off. Christ almighty. I'm talking about the news. Anyway, we do play tonight, obviously, and Newcastle United have taken over Brussels, and it's been great to see. And what has also been great to see is the fact that Newcastle United have been fans have been interacting with Athletic Bilbao fans, and it's really nice to see. And it's great. It's absolutely great because we see European football from loads of cities across Europe, and when rival fans meet, it turns into a little bit of a shit show, doesn't it? It really does. It turns into a shit show, and I'm not really entertained by football fans fighting each other just because of the club they support. I never have been. I can't be arsed with it. So you know what? It's just nice to see. Now on the game tonight, we really need to turn our season around because we haven't played very well, and we need to get going this season. Because as far as I'm concerned, the performances haven't been there apart from a couple of games when we've done really well. But let's be honest here, we ain't played well in quite a lot of games. And I don't know whether we've actually taken our foot off the gas when it comes to intensity, because a lot of people now are saying that intensity was our identity. That's not the case anymore. We are now in a very, very different situation. But look, has Eddie changed? Has he changed the way he plays? Are we expecting Newcastle to go out tonight and maybe line up with 3 centre-backs again? I'd be disappointed. I'd be disappointed if we do, because I think, look, as well as USG are playing and obviously flying high at the top of the Belgian league, they've got some very talented players, one of which we'll talk about in a moment because he's been identified as the player to watch tonight. However, we have to surely now start concentrating on playing our game rather than worrying about other teams, because I think that's what we've done so far this season is we've started worrying about other teams rather than the way we play ourselves. And that's kind of taken away the identity that we've played with in the past. Now, have we been worked out by other teams? I definitely think there's a little bit of yes to that. But at the same time, if we don't play with intensity, we're a very, very different team. I think Newcastle United are at the very best when they do play with that high intensity. And we've still got the players to do that. We've got very, very quick wingers who certainly can close down and play with that intensity. The midfield can certainly play with the intensity. But we're not quite seeing it this time. And I just wonder if Eddie's going with a different direction. But tonight, I want to see that intensity back. I want to see us quieten the crowd down very early and then really start stamping our authority on the game like we've done in the past when our intensity has been high, when we can go at teams and really by the end of the 90 minutes, teams know they've been absolutely badgered by us. They come off the pitch absolutely knackered. Absolutely knackered, and they know that they've been pressed and hurried into making mistakes, and physicality is back there as well. And that's what I want to see. I don't know about you guys, but we need to see that back, because we're not seeing it at the minute, and it's affecting the way we play. The intensity hasn't been there. The intensity was there against Liverpool, absolutely. It was there against Barcelona. But it hasn't been there any other time. We let Arsenal dictate that game on Sunday. And that for me is a big difference to what we've been doing, because when we play like that and we let a team like Arsenal dictate the game, we don't look anywhere near as good as we do when we go intensity and we go press and we really run them ragged, because teams like Arsenal don't like that. It's been proved in the past when we've won games against Arsenal or the bigger sides in the Premier League. We've absolutely badgered them, but we ain't seeing it. Robert Winship says Wirtz has not scored. He's Germans. Liverpool overpaid. Well, you could technically say that as well. Absolutely. Kari, a member for 44 months, says Woltemade the king and Liverpool got the rat of footballer selfish on his way down. Isak was good just because our other players did him well. I've seen quite a few memes actually online since Liverpool lost last night with Jacob Murphy's face. And just with loads of comments saying, Isak may be a striker, but he's not getting the ammunition, and little faces of Jacob Murphy everywhere, which I think is actually absolutely brilliant. I think it's fantastic to see, because look, whatever we think of Isak, I find it quite funny. He's had a bad start, and he has had a bad start. But the problem is that everybody keeps talking about fitness, and how long is this excuse for Isak going to keep going? That he's not fit yet. He's not fit yet. He's not fit yet. I mean, he barely touched the ball when he came on last night. And he's got very talented players around him. So, yeah, make of that what you will. But listen, I find it quite funny. I really do. Because of all the shit we were given, he's really struggling. And he doesn't look anywhere near the player he was. And all the press keep doing, and all the pundits, he's not fit yet. He's not fit yet. I beg to differ. Now, on fitness, Fabian Schär is back tonight, of course, and the big question is, who does Eddie start with? Does he stay with Botman and Chow if he goes with the back four, or are we going to get annoyed by the fact that he's going to try and fit a certain Dan Burn into the side again? Now, look, let's be quite clear here. I love Dan Burn. I love him. I think what he's done since he's been at Newcastle has been nothing short of incredible. Getting into the England side, etc., etc. But is he one of the best centre-backs we got at the club right now? No. Because Botman and Chow are those two. And Botman and Chow have come in and cemented their place for me in that side. Now, I know Eddie needs to rotate. Absolutely does. But there is a time and a place to rotate. This is the Champions League. And this is the point I was trying to make on the live show last night during the preview, is that for so long, we've been making this big thing about reaching the Champions League and the pinnacle of European football and all of this. And then people are talking about dropping players, so we can fit the likes of, Dan Burn into the side. This is where Eddie has to show some balls. This is where now comes to the crunch, where you're playing the top competition in probably world football. You have to show some balls and start dropping players that have been your go-to players for years. They've been fantastic go-to players, no doubt about that. But the time has come now where we need to play the very best players that we have in order to gel that first 11. Because there is no doubt in my mind that Malik Chow and Sven Botman are what we need moving forward. And this is the Champions League we're talking about. And we lost our first game. We need to win this game tonight. Because the last thing we want to do in the Champions League is play catch-up as well, trying to qualify. This is a big opportunity for us to get 3 points on the board. And we need our very best players out there tonight to go and do it. Because if we don't, and we lose again tonight, serious questions are going to start rising, depending on what tactics Eddie plays and what team he puts out. But I just believe that the time has come now to stop shoehorning certain players into the side, because he did that on Sunday and it completely failed. Fair enough, we went 1-0 up against Arsenal. We went in 1-0 at half-time, but that could have been so different. It could have been very different because he made a mistake putting Dan Burn left back. But look, hopefully he learns from that and he doesn't do it again. But he's got to stop shoehorning players in. You know, there's been questions raised of Bruno's fitness right now. Is he asking too much of Bruno? I don't think so. It's very early in the season here, and Bruno didn't play against Bournemouth. He should be pretty fit. Lewis Hall, talking about managing his fitness, he was left out completely on Sunday. I didn't quite get that. You know, yes, fatigue, body fatigue is the reason that he was left out. But look, this guy's a kid. This guy's a kid. Get him in. And if he tires during the game, bring him off after an hour. You know, I don't know why these managers do that. And it's not just Eddie Howe these days. You know, give them an hour and then you can always bring them off. But start with your best team. Start with the best team that you think is going to win that game. Nobody can tell me that Eddie started that game thinking, yeah, Dan Burn at left back, that's the strongest possible option that we have. Because it wasn't. It wasn't. Tino Livramento's been incredible at left back in Lewis Hall's absence, and Trippier was on the bench. So it didn't make any sense at all. Tonight is a huge game. Now, many people are saying that, you know, he still needs to rotate and do this and do that. But like I said, it's the Champions League, and surely we have to see Eddie now be a bit more cutthroat and stop shoehorning players in and actually go for it. Because that is, in my opinion, Newcastle United are at their very best when we dictate, we go for them. We sit back and park the bus. We concede goals. We are not a good side parking the bus. And we tried parking the bus on Sunday, and look what happened. We ended up losing the game. It does not work. But what does work is when we're in a high press and we're into teams, we don't give them a second on the ball, and we start getting them to make mistakes, and then we capitalize on those said mistakes. But I haven't seen that this season, and that's why I think tonight is a big opportunity to go out there and actually do that. And do it well, because we certainly got the players to do it. There is players in this side that need rockets up their arses. And if you ask me, personally, as a fan, I think Anthony Gordon needs a rocket up his arse. Harvey Barnes, Elanga needs to perform better when he gets the opportunities. Now, with Elanga, I don't think we've seen the best of him yet because he hasn't had a good run in the side. I mean, we pay so much money for Elanga, yet sometimes he's on the bench and he comes on for 20 minutes here and there. He can't get into the game. He was so good against Barcelona, and he was brought off. So, again, questions are asked about that situation. Why are we bringing Elanga off when he's playing so well? But Elanga can't get a decent run in the side. Gordon, hopefully, will get a decent run at left wing now. I mean, the lads were talking, you know, and Sam last night about, you know, the possibility of Woltemade not playing tonight and playing Gordon up front with Barnes on the left. And you know what? They are right. There's a possibility that Eddie Howe does that. And if he does, I will be asking serious questions of where our desire to finish or to do this season. What are we trying to do this season if we play Anthony Gordon in the number 9 tonight? It would not make any sense. And I really pray that he doesn't do that, because we've got Woltemade. Start him. If he runs out of gas, you can always change it later on in the game. But you have to start with your best side possible. This isn't the Carabao Cup with respect to that. This is the Champions bloody League. Let's go out there. Let's press them. Let's make it hell for them. And let's go and get a few goals. And let's make a stamp. Let's make a marker on this Champions League. Let's just put a word out to all the other teams that Newcastle United are not just there to make the numbers up again. They're not there to be whipping boys. We are here to compete and try and qualify. And make an absolute marker tonight. Start off the way you intend to finish the rest of the Champions League. Not sitting back, parking the bus and taking it up the arse. Because we're not a good side when we do that. And I really want to see some of these players start to perform today. and certainly not with Dan Burn at left back. One player that has, been talked about quite a lot in the build-up to the game and a possible danger to Newcastle. And we did speak about this guy last night. Alex put his stats up on the screen. And it's Promise David. Now, I made a joke about his name, who calls him Promise. But I tell you something now. This guy, he's Canadian, but he is absolutely on fire right now. And the press in Belgium have been making a big thing about Promise David, that he is the man to keep an eye on tonight. Promise David is one of the main players. Physically, he's a monster, very strong, great speed, and knows how to score. Premier League clubs are tracking him. So already, it's been talked about that maybe USG don't have the big name players, even by Belgium standards, but it's a very strong team. That's the main strength. Every player knows what to do, and they are in a very good moment. And how many times have we spoke about this in the past, about teams and not being individuals? You look at Paris Saint-Germain over the years, right? They were very much a team built of individuals, and they did not play as a team. But now, since the likes of Neymar and all of those have gone, and Mbappe and Messi, etc., they've gelled into a team. They've got a team ethic there. And you don't have to have a load of fantastic world-class players. If you do well and combine as a team, you will get success. It's a team game. It's not an individual game. And that is why I think, when we play as a team, we are a lot better. Pressing as a team and not just sitting back and parking the bus, because we get it. It makes things complicated. But they are playing very well at the moment, and this is going to be an extremely, extremely tough game from the get-go. And we have to be ready for it. Because, again, if we start slowly and we play catch-up again, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. But I'm looking forward to the game, because I genuinely think when you look at our side, are we good enough to qualify to the knockout stages of the Champions League? If you look at our team on paper, are we good enough? And the answer is yes. Have we seen the capabilities on the pitch of this team on paper? No, we haven't. Not yet. It's been a bit of a slow start. So let's go out there and sudden blitz these guys tonight. And no disrespect to USG, but I want us to go out and press them, silence the crowd, get a few goals, and make a statement in this Champions League. Now, the sporting director, guys, this has been a thing of crazy discussion for months and months now, since the departure of Paul Mitchell. The fact that we still have not replaced Mitchell, that was definitely, for me, an issue in the transfer window. The fact that we did not have a sporting director. Eddie made a point of that numerous times during the transfer window. The things were made very, very difficult because of not having that sporting director to, complete the deals or work hard behind the scenes, leaving it all really to Eddie and his staff. Now, the guy that's been mentioned is Ross Wilson from Nottingham Forest. Now, he has been mentioned by us and many other media outlets in the past about taking over the sporting director role. Now, obviously, Mitchell was there and had a challenging 12 months, apparently. But Nottingham Forest, Ross Wilson is expected to get the job. Now, the report kind of contradicts itself, because he's expected to get the job, but it remains very unclear exactly when he will be appointed. Now, it also shows a picture of him talking to Ange Postecoglou, the new Nottingham Forest manager, who he will have played a part in getting after Nuno left. So it appears that he is the man that Newcastle United have chosen, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's the perfect fit for everyone inside the club. So this, again, rears its ugly head about, are they arguing behind the scenes as to who should be the sporting director, who should come in? And I know everybody's going to start saying, oh, Eddie's kicking off again. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like that. He's not a team player, and he won't work for certain people. I don't think that that's the case. Okay, I'll say it now, because I think it's people above him that are skeptical about making the decision. Now, whether it's the new CEO who's come in and said, hang on a minute, let's just take a step back, I don't think this guy might be good enough, because what it does say further down is that the reason that they've held back with Ross Mitchell is because his European experience is very, very poor. Now, look, for me, we need somebody who's got that European experience. It said, despite these reservations, it does not look like it will stop Wilson from becoming Newcastle United's new sporting director. Obviously, Mitchell came with a huge CV, didn't he? Tottenham Hotspur, Leipzig, Monaco, etc., etc. Wilson can only turn to his time at Rangers before, of course, he came to Forest. Now, I've seen a few people in the chat already this morning saying that, this guy destroyed Rangers. He was part of the downfall of Rangers. I don't know enough about his job at Rangers to be able to say, yes, I agree with that, or no, I don't. But Nottingham Forest, I mean, you look at where Forest have been, and last season, the players they brought in have been absolutely superb for them. So for me, he's done a very, very good job. And listen, just because you've got a fantastic, glowing CV does not mean that you're going to be successful at the job. You have the credentials to do the job, but it doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And that was, for me, the case with Paul Mitchell. Mitchell had a glowing CV, rosy as hell. Yes, he can do this, that, and that. He's got experience, X, Y, Z. But let's be honest, he was bollocks at Newcastle United. Whether it was internal, discretions or whatever it was, I don't know. But what I do know is there's nothing to show from Paul Mitchell's time at Newcastle United. So does that mean that Ross Wilson's going to come in, and just because he doesn't have a glowing CV and he hasn't done what Mitchell's done, can we say that he's going to be successful or not? And I think that's just what's holding us up at the moment in bringing in the new sporting director. It's just a little bit of discussions going back and forwards about, he hasn't got the European experience, but is he good enough to do the job? And Lou makes a good point there. Would have loved Dougie Freedman. Absolutely. And he was mentioned by us and a lot of other people at the time that we knew Ashworth was leaving. Freeman went to Saudi. Could we entice him to come back? Possibly. I mean, certainly with the links to PIF, I don't see why not. But Ross Mitchell, for me, why do I keep calling him Ross Mitchell? That's somebody out of EastEnders, isn't it? Ross Wilson, for me, is a man that I do genuinely believe is a decent sporting director. But is decent what we need? That's the question that I'm asking this morning. Is decent what we need, or do we need to go above that decent level and go elite and pay the money for an elite sporting director? Obviously they'll have done a lot of work into Wilson himself and looked at his background and what he's done, etc. And if Newcastle United feel that he is the man that can do the job, then let him go and do the job and give him an opportunity. But what we don't want to do again is get a sporting director in who is only going to be here for a few months. This new job, this sporting director, we need a long-term appointment here who is going to see the process through. Ashworth didn't, because he was a snake and fucked off to Newton Heath. And that fell flat in his face. Mitchell apparently didn't get on with, not just, I don't know whether he got on with Eddie Howe, but a lot of staff behind the scenes didn't appreciate Mitchell. This has to be a good match for Newcastle United this time. They can't mess around. They can't make mistakes and balls it up. They need to make sure that this is the right decision and the right move moving forward. And this guy who comes in has got to see it through. He's got to get on with Eddie. He's got to get on with the new CEO. He's got to get on with the staff. This has to be a perfect marriage this time and make sure that we've got people behind the scenes who want to see this process through and are not going to jump ship like Ashworth as soon as Newton Heath come calling. I think people have learned lessons by that, by the way, given how Ashworth's time at Manchester United went. So it's an interesting one, but I think it needs to be decided quickly. I think we need a sporting director in quickly. We know that. Eddie said that many, many times during the summer, that he missed having a sporting director. We need one. All clubs have one now. It's very important that we bring one in. But according to this report, it's not going to be anytime soon. They want to make sure that this decision is going to be the right one. And they're taking the time over it. So make of that what you will, folks. But it's, I tell you something, it's got to be the right one for me. And we can't fuck around with this again because it's just such a pain in the ass when it does. But there you go. That is the morning news, folks. We are back tonight at 5:30 for Matchday Live. Don't forget, full commentary of USG versus Newcastle United in the Champions League. Please give it a like if you've enjoyed the show, and of course, subscribe if you are new around here. Thank you very much, everybody. I think there's a couple of things I've missed here before we finish. Dan Robinson says, Isak without Murphy, his battery's not included. I hope he flops and readjusts that and readjusts that massive ego of his. But regardless, we have the BFG and move on. And JT Toon says it would be criminal to not start Chow and Botman tonight. Lewis Hall is a must at left back. Completely agree. Well, we'll be back at 5:30. We'll dive into the teams, etc., etc. If there's any more news to bring you during the day, I'll pop a video out. So make sure you got your notifications turned on, folks. Well, listen, have a cracking day. Keep voting for us, remember, in the Football Content Awards. And we will see you tonight. Have a great day, folks. Take care.
Come back and check on Sea Breeze.